the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, said the attempt to seek an arrest warrant for him for his alleged war crimes in Gaza was absurd. He's insisted that any attempts to tie Israel's hands was going to be doomed to fail. The International Criminal Court's prosecutor yesterday declared that he was seeking arrest warrants for Netanyahu, also for Hamas's leaders. Well, Joe Biden said the request for the warrants was outrageous. And the UK's Deputy Foreign Secretary, Andrew Mitchell's also criticised the decision. Let's find out a bit more about the implications. Dr Maria Varaki is a lecturer in international law at the War Studies Department at King's College London. Maria, I mean, just tell us, what's the International Criminal Court's justification for these arrest warrants?
Good morning. Well, as you mentioned yesterday, the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court declared that there are reasonable grounds to apply for an arrest warrant against Prime Minister Netanyahu, his Minister of Defense, and also 3 Hamas leaders. According to his statement, and according to the expert policy paper, apparently they analyzed evidence and they concluded that based on this evidence they had from witnesses, from videos, from photographs, from satellite images, there were reasonable grounds, and that this is the evidentiary threshold at this stage, that alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity had been committed by the alleged perpetrators.
And so what happens next? Clearly, Netanyahu is livid that this has happened. Can he appeal against the decision?
Well, we saw the statements and the reaction you already mentioned by himself, but also by other leaders. Israel is not a state party to the Rome Statute. What we expect, the legal procedure is now that the request is before what we call a pretrial chamber of 3 judges. So they are going to review the evidence and the request that has been submitted by the Office of the Prosecutor, and they will decide accordingly to this evidence whether the final arrest warrants will be issued or not. I don't think that Israelis will participate in these procedures. As I say, they're not, Israel is not a state party. What is quite interesting is that we saw also a similar reaction by Hamas. Hamas leaders actually demanding the Office of the Prosecutor to cancel the arrest warrant. So we can say that there is a kind of unanimous reaction on behalf of all the alleged perpetrators.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, is this the first time that a politician like Netanyahu has come under the scrutiny here to say, look, I'd like to arrest you?
Yeah, it has been described as a historical moment, at least for the International Criminal Court. Last year, we had the arrest warrant against President Putin. However, this is the first time that, as some commentators say, that you have a so-called Western leader and there are proceedings and arrest warrant, a request for an arrest warrant against him. But I would like to mention here that the Office of the Prosecutor repeatedly had issued warnings that the whole situation was under investigation. The prosecutor himself had visited Israel and he had been at the borders of Gaza with Egypt. So it was known, and there were rumors that this move was coming. Still, it is a shock. It is a shock, especially for the Israeli leadership.
Yeah, the chief prosecutor of the Hague Court accused Netanyahu and the defence minister of crimes including starvation of civilians as a method of warfare, willful killing and intentionally directing attacks against the civilian population. It's going to be interesting how this develops. If, Maria, the arrest warrant is issued, what does that then mean for Netanyahu?
Well, definitely there will be some restrictions, although Israel and some of its allies, and we saw also the reaction yesterday by the US, but also by the UK government, especially the USA, they don't recognize the jurisdiction of the court. Still, there will be restrictions for the Israeli leaders and for the Hamas people. He won't be able, at least, to travel to countries which are member states with the Rome Statute. There is political pressure, definitely. There is political pressure. It's a shaming situation. No one wants to be accused of war crimes and crimes against humanity. There is pressure. There will be pressure also on other states that support the particular government. So although, as I said before, that there is no official recognition on behalf of Israel, still there are repercussions.
But of course, a trial and a case before the court for crimes against humanity, for war crimes, can be expected to go on for years.
Well, we are far away from a trial because first of all, we need for the pretrial chamber to approve this request. And then even if there is the arrest warrants are rendered, then the question is what will happen with the particular individuals, because the International Criminal Court does not have its own police, does not have its own army. It depends on the cooperation of the state parties, and Israel is not a state party. And also when it comes to the Hamas individuals, someone should arrest them. So we are talking about a slow procedure unless something dramatic happens.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, the American president, Joe Biden, he's called this request for warrants outrageous. But of course, America is not a member of the International Criminal Court. Britain is. Many other countries are. Would you expect countries like Britain and other countries who are members of the court to agree to this, even if the warrant is sworn out? Would they agree to arrest the Israeli president, who they, support in broad terms, if he arrived on their territory?
Well, according to the Rome Statute and according to the obligations that state parties undertake when they become parties to the International Criminal Court, they have an obligation to arrest people who have been who are there are arrest warrants against them. Clearly, we saw that the UK stand is they disagree. There is a reaction with regard to the arrest warrants. We have a diverse reaction among different European countries. Belgium was more positive, whereas other countries such as Austria or the Czech Republic, they are more negative regarding the arrest warrants because they do not believe that those arrest warrants contribute into the so-called negotiation process, the release of hostages, humanitarian aid delivery, and the pause of hostilities.
Well, I mean, this application for warrants will enrage Israel, won't it? I mean, although Israel does support the principles of the European Convention on Human Rights, for example, uses it as a kind of a model for law.
Israel is not a state party to the European Convention on human rights.
It doesn't sign the treaty, but it does cite the convention and the law behind it as something of a model, as an exemplar.
Yeah, but now we are talking about war crimes, crimes against humanity, which are core crimes. We're talking about international criminal law. Not every violation of human rights is a crime. So when we are talking about international criminal law, it's a different legal framework than the one you suggest. So although Israel is not a state party to the Rome Statute, Palestine, for the purposes of the International Criminal Court, has accepted the jurisdiction of the court, and this is why the court has jurisdiction over Palestinian and Israeli citizens.
Yeah. Is it possible, Maria, for someone who is facing charges at the International Court to be tried in their absence?
No, it's not. No. We get the International Criminal Court, according to the statute, they are not trials in absentia, as we say, and this reflects very much the gravity of the crimes and the rationale behind the establishment of a permanent international court.
All right. Thank you for your thoughts and your expert views on this. Dr Maria Varaki on Times Radio Drive this afternoon.